I love me some Dead Rising, but you guys already knew that, right? Developed under the brilliant minds of Inafune and Kawano during their Capcom days. It had me wondering, how did the idea come about in the first place? It turns out, Dead Rising at very early stages was supposed to be an entirely different game. Originally it was intended to be a sequel to the 2005 title known as Shadow of Rome. Keiji Inafune, that guy who used to make Good Decisions, was an executive producer for this game as well as the potential sequel. Shout out to the Golden King 20 for bringing this up to me. I had no clue of this at all. I must be slipping at my old age. The sequel to Shadow of Rome was being developed before the first game even launched, as part of an initiative Capcom wanted to take in which they would try to appeal more to a Western audience. It was also going to be the first game to use the wonderful MT Framework engine, which would become the foundation for most of Capcom's in-house developed games. This is still the case to this day, the latest game utilizing it being Monster Hunter World. Unfortunately, it was not a good introduction since the game sold very poorly. This led Inafune to make the executive decision and have the team change its entire concept into something different. Thus, Dead Rising was born. So how appropriate for Shadow of Rome to be set in the time period of Caesar's rule. It's like Dead Rising's ancestor. But that isn't all I wanted to tell you. When I first learned about this title, I thought to myself, does this game share any real similarities with my favorite Zombo slaying series? The answer might surprise you. I will also be looking over the game as an experience that stands on its own. Let's take this trip to ancient Rome together. Firstly, a run-through of the gameplay. Shadow of Rome stars two main protagonists, based on real-life figures from ancient Rome. One of them is Agrippa, a general and carpenter in his day, but you're not building shit. Instead, you break foes apart. When playing as him, you tear through your enemies in arena battles and war scenarios. The other style and protagonist is Octavianus? Wait, so he's the father-in-law to Agrippa? He's clearly much younger, and Agrippa's mother dies in the story. And these two are also supposed to be like the same age in real life. I don't know, maybe they aren't being entirely accurate. Playing as Octavianus, you go around town talking to NPCs as well as sneak and bonk your way to infiltrate important areas. Throughout the entire campaign, you switch between each of them to complete their scenarios, a real paradigm shift, showing you the different lives these two friends were experiencing in this adventure, which would come to an ultimate intertwinement in the end. I just cut that fucker apart! Yeah, get some. Can't take down Agrippa. Just gotta slowly walk down this hallway.
Excuse me, sir?
Slicing these motherfuckers up. Okay, knocked him down. Just gonna take his outfit. Yep. I really like holding down the shoulder button. Oh, you want some too? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, off the road. Fucking dominating these fools. Alright, just gonna take this. Whoa. I'm packing all of a sudden. Why does he get huge tits just for putting on the outfit? Let's take a deeper look at playing as Agrippa. When it comes to the beginning of the game, it's as simple as defeating everyone. It's more to ease you into the core gameplay. It's practically trial by fire at first, and you're presented a more hands-on tutorial in the beginning of the second chapter. The real focus is the gladiator events. There's all kinds of things you could do in these hack and slash brawling stages. Fight your foes with whatever you can find. Sometimes you can even snatch weapons right out of enemy hands, but be careful, they don't last forever. In fact, when used effectively as possible, they only last for like half a minute. Fallen enemies with armor can also be used to your advantage, and finding scraps of food can be life-saving. For these events, there's particular objectives, although whether it's rack up the most kills or save the unarmed prisoner, one thing you need to consider is your salvos. The game explains it as the audience's level of being entertained, but it is basically your score for each mission. You need to obtain a certain amount of salvos in order to successfully complete the mission. The method of getting the most is being creative and varied as the mission allows you to be. You can't just mash against enemies with your fists for hours on end. It's boring to you and the crowd. Be as innovative as you can with your killing abilities and you'll really get the crowd going and score points like crazy. This whole thing really reminds me of a certain game. Maybe you guys know which one? Of course, that's right, Mad World. Another brutal brawler with an arcade-esque scoring system. And just like Mad World, the hit detection feels weird and fighting enemies is kinda stiff.
A contest between chosen gladiators. A grand fete of carnage. In every society, at all times, there has been war. As long as there is power, territory, ethnicity, belief, ideals, as long as there are people, there will be conflict.
Please the crowd with all different kinds of slang and they'll help you exponentially. Wow them with your amazing moves, embrace their cheers, and they'll throw you useful items such as health ups and gigantic weapons. Who the hell brought that in? You really need to be careful when trying to call out for assistance because an enemy can quickly snatch up weapons that were meant to support you. Are you fucking kidding? You can even perform sweet special moves on groggy enemies like German suplex and throat slitting. The game likes to mix up the events as the tournament progresses. I have to fight tigers? Oh no, they're delicate creatures who don't hurt nobody. There's also chariot racing, which is pretty simple to clear, but goddamn is it satisfying. This shit is right out of Ben-Hur. The dynamic angles and effects add a lot to the races, making it even more fun and exciting. With all this, Agrippa's action-packed missions are very savage and incredibly gratifying, albeit frustrating at times. Some of these missions are a real chore. Like this one, I have to kill this midget, get through these giant blades. Oh, now I have to cut apart these enemies. Alright, doing okay. Climb up here and it's full of assholes with slings, in which his projectiles instantly make you dizzy. Come on, fucking quit it. Now I just gotta save this guy? Sure, fine. Oh look, more goddamn enemies. And more after that. Oh, what the hell? The guy won't duck. How is he supposed to get through the giant blades? I guess I have to restart. How can I... Oh, wait. Really? I'm supposed to just break these stupid things by sheer force? I guess even the most Neanderthal-esque solutions can be the best ones. Female prisoners are different. Sometimes they become hysterical and you have to talk sense into them. Alright, let's keep going. Don't stop oh my god, she pissed herself. Alright, just come on, get up. No, you ran across the exit. Just go in there. What the fuck? Why would you run towards them? Why won't you move? Why are the AI so stupid? Oh my god. Maybe Dead Rising 1 is bad. Maybe the survivors are just bullshit. I don't know what's real anymore. The frustration doesn't end there either. Feels like a lot of these situations are designed to be trudging and annoying. Like right here, you have to kill 3 archers that are separated from each other. Get ready for them to interrupt you constantly. Alright, fighting a big ol' elephant and 2 tigers. The tigers are really annoying but don't have much health. Let me just clear them away. Cool, now I can focus on the most peaceful creature on Earth. Wait, what? Goddamn buzzards? Get out of here! Oh, what the f... Still, you just have to learn the game and persevere. What feels impossible at first can be overcome as long as you understand the game through your failures. Why are these bosses so hard? God damn it. These combos they pull off are ridiculous. Oh my god, this is... Oh my god, I'm so scared. I literally have no health left. But he's almost dead too. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my... Stop moving, just... No. God, just let me... No. Yes! Ah. Oh my god. A game hasn't made me feel this tense in a long fucking time. While I'm doing my damnedest in recreating how I felt enduring these fights, I just want to emphasize how gratifying it really is once you beat it. Any good title with challenging gameplay should make the player feel like this. Alright, now for Octavianus. While his gameplay requires a lot of finesse, it's considerably much simpler than Agrippa's. All of his missions require you to sneak your way through restricted areas, either by getting through completely unseen or under a very clever disguise. Really now? Come on, guards. No wonder those idiots got their shit pushed in by those French savages. So what's the story about? The date is 44 BC, the most brutal time in history. No time for remorse, no compassion in battle, no weakness in the enemy. Caesar has been executed and family honor has been shattered. Your greatest fight will be for the truth. Well, that's what the back of the box says. Agrippa's dad, Vipsanius, was accused of murdering Julius Caesar. Octavianus, Caesar's nephew, refuses to believe he is the real murderer. Agrippa joins the gladiator tournament so he can try to save his father, while Octavianus stays in the city at an attempt to find the truth behind his uncle's assassination. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't find the story that interesting. I was never into ancient history. Not saying it's objectively bad, it just never caught my interest at any point in my life. The politics of Rome, everyone trying to fight for power. I don't know, it just doesn't seem to keep my attention. I like some of the acting, reminds me of films from a different era.
They will not allow your entry into the Senate House.
But I must do something. My poor friend Agrippa. I cannot even look him in the eye until this terrible injustice has been remedied.
Hey, Octavianus sounds familiar. What I thought was neat, it seems as though most of the cast was derived from real figures of ancient Rome. I don't know how accurate they really are, to be honest. I feel like some of these characters were given a bit of that flair I expect from Capcom developers back then. Hell, Sextus looks like Lewis from Resident Evil 4. Or maybe they just look too much like Johnny Depp. Anyway, that's all Shadow of Rome has to offer. What did I think of it? The game itself was actually really fun for me. Uninteresting setting or not, I can recognize enjoyable gameplay. The variety and objectives throughout the tournament keep it fresh. The inclusion of chariot races was a nice touch. Despite how senselessly barbaric a lot of it appears on the surface, the last thing you can do is mash away with no strategy. You really need to take your time and think your moves against a lot of these baddies, and getting outnumbered with no weapon can pretty much mean you're dead if you don't try to get away from them. Your fists are, obviously, the weakest means of attacking. I appreciate that they wanted to make this more than a brainless brawler when it comes to Agrippa's gameplay. It reminds me of how Platinum Games designs a lot of their titles, such as Mad World and Anarchy Reigns. I can't say I enjoy the Octavianist portion too much. I'm not big on stealth games, but it felt like they designed it to add variety to the gameplay without turning people off that don't enjoy the genre very much in the first place. In other words, it's very basic. It is simple and concise enough for the average player to understand, but it just feels like it's lacking substance. Still, it had some fun scenarios and it has a bit of a goofy element implemented to it. Also, buying and collecting stuff was pretty satisfying. The exploits it bears are very obvious though. The designers also gave attention to detail in its world, making it feel more populated and real. Be forewarned, the game will piss you off. It's practically designed to do so. The enemies won't let up and you're really going to feel like you're up against the wall very often. Ultimately, Shadow of Rome is a really delightful and sadistically satisfying experience. It's especially good compared to Rise Son of Rome, literally the only other game about ancient Rome I ever played. Rather than using simplified hack-and-slash gameplay, ripping off Batman Arkham Asylum, and throwing in random ho-hum scenarios that either I've seen in countless other games or it's simply just not engaging, Shadow of Rome wanted to provide deeper gameplay to a simple concept. It cared about making a more worthwhile experience rather than showing off pretty graphics. But oh, Rise Son of Rome probably wasn't the comparison you were yearning for, right? After all, everyone forgot about that game the moment it stopped being 2013. Let's get into the reason I even started playing this game. Here are the ways it relates to Dead Rising. First thing I immediately noticed is the core mechanics. Picking up whatever you can find and using it as a weapon. While most of what you can pick up are actual weapons, there's unconventional items you can use on occasion such as boulders or even body parts. And it's worth noting, even this game lets you throw whatever you'd like as a last-ditch effort to hurt enemies. There's also the durability meter to consider. Obviously not the first game to do it, but I'm sure this is what helped give them the idea for all the items in Dead Rising. Fallen enemies will drop their armor, and some sneaking missions require you to change clothes. Of course, these mechanics are for extra protection or clearing stealth missions, rather than Dead Rising, in which it was just for fun. Oh, but look at that. Sometimes your changed clothes and hair show up in the cutscenes, making them look sillier. Here's a few animations I noticed look very similar. Here we got the German suplex, practically looks one-to-one. And sadly, it looks like they don't let you throw them over an edge, careening to their death. Come on, what kind of... Oh shit, that's what I'm talking about. Check out these high kicks. Familiar? Looks like Carlito got a bit of a feminine touch to his attacks. While the animation isn't too similar, I couldn't help but notice this boss's fighting style reminds me of a very particular clown. There's also these tigers. Could they have reused assets for Snowflake in Dead Rising 2? A bit of a stretch to say, I suppose. They're very generic animations, and these games use entirely different engines and are years apart from each other. Then again, I'm pretty sure this big stupid thing from Evil Within 2 and this sub-boss from Shadows of the Damned share very similar animation. And Shinji Mikami helped make both of them. Who knows? There's also the bumbling hostage AI. Just like in Dead Rising, they can be severely incompetent when you just need them to cooperate with you. Their running animation is looking a little similar as well. And one last thing, the branching dialogue system. Throughout Shadow of Rome, you have to speak with folks during the game's downtime or talk your way out of sticky situations in order to get through areas. Some of these choices don't change anything, while others are important to continue the story. Although, what does this have to do with Dead Rising? There's no branching dialogue in that game, no conversation choices. While it definitely doesn't have any now, it almost did. Stippo, expert Dead Rising researcher who has his hands on early builds of the game, found leftover coding for branching dialogue. Although as you can see here, there was only a single example of it finished in this beta version. I thought this was the most interesting thing to discover about Shadow of Rome. Not only is this a tiny remnant of that game's abandoned sequel, they actually considered adding this to Dead Rising. I'd imagine this is something that would have been especially prevalent in rescuing survivors. This is pure speculation, but I think that would explain some of the dialogue in the final game. I imagine saving Leah, the mother who lost her baby, would have needed to hear the right thing in order to snap out of her mourning. After all, what Frank says is reasonably harsh and just what she needed to hear. Maybe had to talk Bert down rather than pummel him for a bit. Reaching Sophie and communicating with her to make her cooperate reminds me of how the female prisoners worked in Shadow of Rome. Maybe even talking to Ken had some branching dialogue. It's a pretty exorbitant number of line exchanges as it is. Still, these are just bits of speculation, and we'll probably never know beyond what Stippo has discovered. So, those are the similarities I found between Shadow of Rome and Dead Rising. Playing through this title made me consider what kind of potential a more unique sequel could have received. After all, I think if Dead Rising managed to find an audience in Japan even half as financially viable as it did in the West, the sequels would not have been outsourced. When Dead Rising 2 revealed terror is reality as a concept, I thought it would be similar to Mad World, or now, rather, what Shadow of Rome's Gladiator games were like. Slay all these vicious zombos as creatively as possible in front of a live audience. What if Dead Rising 2 had a more similar structure to Shadow of Rome? You have two protagonists, one is exploring the plaza and clearing missions in order to find out more info on the current outbreak, while another is stuck fighting vicious hordes in order to keep entertaining the folks watching this reality show. I think if the Dead Rising 1 devs got to make a sequel completely in-house, it would have led to something like this. The TIR game that off the record starts with even reminds me of the salvo system Shadow of Rome, but of course it's a lot more shallow. I digress, this is just me randomly speculating. Back to Shadow of Rome. It was an intriguing experience as a seasoned Dead Rising player. What if the game actually sold well and they didn't cease development of the sequel? It means we may never have received Inafune and Kawano's brilliant contribution to the world with one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. While I definitely enjoyed Shadow of Rome for what it had to offer as an unequaled brawler, Dead Rising is one of my favorite games of all time, so I can't help but be biased. One last thing, there is a place in Dead Rising where Agrippa's trials and tribulations are forever honored and immortalized. Just go to North Plaza in Willamette, keep going, right here in Ripper's Blades. Hope you enjoyed this brutal trip to Rome and finding some of the first game's roots. Thanks for watching. Just a quick heads up, Twitch has recently announced it started a video producer program, which means users can upload original videos to those channels. Seeing as how vid.me has passed away, I figured this is the best option for a secondary backup channel. It even has some neat features, like I can stream everything I've uploaded and people can watch it live and chat it up. Think about it, someday I'll have made enough videos to make a Genry channel. 24/7. You can listen to my annoying voice endlessly. Ugh. Anyway, I'll be uploading all of my videos on YouTube as well as Twitch at the same time. I'm also going to put more of an effort into streaming regularly on Twitch, so if you'd like, give me a follow. Hope to see you there.